Welcome again to the series on installing the Wazuh SIEM tool on Kubernetes hosted on EKS cluster on AWS. In our last video, we looked at setting up a non-root account with full administrator access to be able to do our deployment and get the solution up and running. So we've done that, and now we're going to sign into the account, set up the required permissions, which we already look at the permissions we set up, which we already did in the last video, and then set up our PVC network and all that. So straight into the video, let's do that. So given that you know we have already set up this account, we need to use the I am user, not the root user anymore. Enter your account ID or your alias. I have an alias, so I'll be using that. Now once you log in, the first thing you would want to do is to go and set up the VPC to be able to have an environment to run your Kubernetes. So if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please subscribe. Leave, leave a comment in the comment section if you have anything good or bad or neutral to say. And then remember to click the like button if that's all you want to do. If you subscribe and you want to get the videos every time they drop, you want to get a notification, then click the bell icon. So now that we've opened our VPC, so what is VPC? VPC is like your virtual network. You have your router, your switches, and what have you. So ideally there'll be nothing here, so you click create your VPC. I already have mine. You can do VPC only, but to save time, AWS did a feature where you just have VPC and more, and you create everything at once, and you see a depiction, a diagram of how everything works. Now, put the name you want, and it will auto generate this name in every part, including special words to identify each resource. Now, choose your CIDR block. I always recommend when creating a VPC, you use a CIDR block of /16 address. That way, you can easily scale the VPC up and scale down at need. What do I mean by this? If you create your VPC using a /24 address, and then you run out of those address, you have to create another VPC. You cannot edit the CIDR address. Now, if you create another VPC, two VPCs do not communicate unless you use a VPC connector. And that alone is another charge on your AWS account. So the best thing you do is you create your VPC with enough address, and then you create subnets. And when you create resources, you assign them to the particular subnet you want. And the subnets will only communicate when you set up the routing table to do that. But if you don't set up the routing table, it's as good as being isolated. That is the purpose of subnetting. So you can use /8 address, whatever address, but ideally I like going with /16. But you know your requirements and your best practices in your organization. Now once you select your CIDR address, you can use default or dedicated, but I always use default. Um, you scroll down, the availability zone of the VPC we are creating should be 2, because that is the requirement of EKS, minimum of 2 availability zones. Now, once you do that, you then come to your number of public subnets. It has to be 2 because you have to availability zone. Then private, you can scale up to 4 if you want. But remember to customize your subnet CIDR block address so that you'll be in control of your addressing scheme. You don't want something random, yeah? Just like we have here. So you can have .1, .2, then you can have 254 or 255 or 345, something like that. Then NAT gateway is not needed for now. You can easily add that later. We don't need the S3 gateway, but I just like leaving that there. And then you just do next, create VPC. But I will not be doing that because I already have a VPC. So now that the VPC is created, the subnets are created, the next thing I want you to do is to create your security groups. Very important. Now I already have my security groups here, but I'll show you how to do it and then go back to my own security group and show you the required ports I left open for the purpose of this. Why I'm showing you now is so that we don't have to come back and do it again. You know, you just do it now and you get it done. Mm. So you come here, you name your security group, give it the description you want. You select the VPC that this security group will be attached to. We have only one VPC, so there's no need for that. Then you add your inbound rule. Outbound rule, leave it at this by default. Then add your inbound rule. Now I will take you to my own security group to show you all the inbound rules I allowed. I'm sorry if I'm talking too fast. I'm trying to do this video in the shortest time possible. So let's go with this one. Now, when I come to the security group, edit inbound rules. Now, just copy everything you see on my screen, unless you feel there are some things here you don't need. Um, Allow ICMP to be able to, check the alive states of your instances. HTTPS, because there are some things that we need to access. SSH, you know what it is. NFS should be linked only to the addressing scheme of your VPC. You don't want the public speaking to the NFS. Then for the HTTP, yeah, that's that. So normally you save the rules, but yeah, either one. But I don't need to save that because I have already saved it. Now in this video we have created our VPC, subnets, route tables, internet gateway, and what have you. And we've also looked at the security group and assigned that security group to the VPC. Now we have done this. In our next video, we'll be creating all the permissions required for this implementation. Then we'll be looking at setting up an EC2 instance on AWS. Catch you in my next video. Comment anything you want to say, maybe something bad or good has happened in this video or something you think that should be improved on, or leave a like button if you just like the video. And remember to subscribe and click the bell notification icon. Then no dey pay do am.